Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. I have the honor of having Miss Lyndsay Phillips here. How are you doing?
I am awesome. Getting closer to the weekend.
That's right. Mine starts after this interview. So, I actually decided yesterday that we're flying to Costa Rica next week for my girlfriend's birthday. So
sweet.
Yeah. So I'm really glad we're not doing the interview next week.
That'll be awkward.
Yeah.
The monkeys will be in the background.
Yeah. They'll steal your laptop. So, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, Dream Chasers, for sponsoring the podcast. But Lyndsay, I read your bio, real estate, marketing, podcasting. So this is right in my wheelhouse. So what I like to do is I like to let my guests tell their story where they want to start, and then we kind of go from there.
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur, it feels like all my life, on and off. I actually used to export vehicles to the States with like US customs and all that kind of stuff out west. Then the dollar went, and then I went back to working for other people and had small kids. So I was totally cool with that. And then I was like, making 11, 14 bucks an hour doing some part-time jobs where the kids were young. And I was like, there's got to be more to life than this. And, I want to be home for the kids and just carve my own future, right? And I was doing some stuff that I just was not into at all. Sales. I'm good at it, but I don't like it. And then a couple of friends of mine were VAs and they were doing some stuff online. I'm like, this is awesome. So I started doing it and was doing that and the jobs. So I was like totally burning the, candles at both ends. And then I just kicked the jobs and quit and said, I'm all in, and was a VA part-time. And then as my kids got a little older, got more and more clients and more connections and grew. And then I niched down to content marketing because it's creative, right? Like it's really fun. I love the psychology part of it, like attracting people, really getting in their heads and the emotion. And they were getting really good results. And so I actually said no to clients because I didn't want to do the admin stuff anymore, which was scary as hell to say no to people. Mm-hmm. And then with content marketing, I just started to attract a lot of real estate investors that wanted to grow their business. And They were just like, they didn't have time. I mean, you guys, real estate investors, all the stuff that like notes and the dollars and the cents and the legalities, I'm like, whoosh.
Yeah.
But they were stuck with marketing. So I'm like, I can help you.
Wow. It's so funny that you say that. So long story short, and there's a lot of long story shorts in this conversation, but been a real estate investor. We have an Airbnb management company, do some other stuff too, but I was working in private equity in March when COVID hit. I lent to investors and I got laid off and got divorced like 2 weeks later, and it's a whole thing.
God,
and so
Austin. That's a lot.
I started my podcast like in the midst of all that, right? So I'm a doer, right? I'm a like, just go, let's do. Well, after 140 episodes in 8 months, after interviewing everybody, I've had to come up for air from December to now, right? And I've been rebuilding my website where, I've been spending my days talking to marketers, and I feel like I'm a piñata, right? I feel like I'm getting poked with these questions I don't want answers to. Because I'm a doer, right? And I don't care about that other stuff, but I've got somebody doing my YouTube now. We're trading services. And so there, it's happening, right? Because what I've realized, right? And so long story short on this whole thing is I used to be a drug addict and homeless, and I was an alcoholic for years, and I've lost 70 pounds. Well, wow. I couldn't get on a scale because it would mess with my mind. So I didn't want to measure anything. And then when I got to the end of the year, I realized if you don't measure, you can't change.
And you don't know how far you've come, so you can't like congratulate yourself.
Exactly. And so marketing on its head, or your website or whatever, is basically how you measure what's working and not working. I figured it out. And then, so I'm not so upset anymore. And so that's what you're talking about. As real estate investors, there's all this knowledge up here, but if you can't measure it, what are you doing? You're not. And so I would imagine that's what you're doing for your clients, correct?
That's definitely part of it, is optimizing it and figuring out what's working and what's not working. And what's funny is I find a lot of people do this in the just regular entrepreneurial world, but you'll see like a successful real estate investor that's like online and they're doing podcasts and they have a book, they're like out there everywhere. And sometimes it's easy to want to just copy what they do, like for their marketing efforts, right? Or even like their landing pages or what they're doing for Facebook ads if they're doing it. But you can't do that. I mean, you can be inspired and have like understand the strategy and some of the ideas, but we're all different. And the people and what we're like our superpowers or what we're really good at is different. And then also our services and our, UPA is a little bit different. And also the people that we want to attract, like who you want to work with, Austin, is going to be different than what another person, what their ideal client is. And so it can't be cookie cutter. Like there's still foundational strategies and things that you need to do. But like when I just had a 2-hour strategy call with someone a couple of weeks ago, and we really like deep dove on like, who is your ideal client and what are you doing now for your marketing? Where are the holes? And what do we need to set up first? Like you can't just dive into podcasting. Well, you can, but but do you know what I mean? Like you want to be intentional and not necessarily put the cart before the horse. Or like if you have a massive e-list, don't focus on new lead gen right now, like really nurture that list and convert them before you start creating all the other stuff. It's like, you just want to be really intentional with what you're doing and how you're doing it.
I might get, 2 or 3 or 4 DMs or calls a week when they're like, we can get you 10,000 followers and we can make your podcast famous and we can blow up your coaching business. And nobody's allowed to grow anymore. And the thing is, what you're saying is 100% clear. Service the people that are in front of you. And let's let them follow the journey, right?
Yeah.
And let's them build. And it takes some fortitude, right? Because you see your numbers and you're like, shit.
And consistency and just
and
stick-to-itiveness.
but what my mentor said to me is like, if your podcast is doing this, then you're good.
I know.
Like it doesn't, but we've become a society of you need to have the ring light and everything needs to be perfect. Your first podcast.
So does not.
So does not. And you know what it does? And I did a rant on this on my podcast. What it does is it discourages people from even trying. And I can't stand that because everybody has a message and everybody has a story.
I know.
And you have to start out somewhere. And so nobody's allowed to go organically anymore. And that's why I don't care. I'm like, guys, I don't want your 10,000 followers.
Pressure.
Yeah, it's too much pressure because if you have a focus, right? Aubrey Marcus and Seth Godin had an amazing podcast where they were talking about, as a coach and a contracted worker, like a VA, if you had 20 clients that were paying you good money, that's all you need for your whole life. And people don't understand that. They think they need everybody. I just spent the last week defriending 3,000 people on Facebook. Wait for it. You know how many people reach out to me? 0. Wasted space.
Yeah.
Space. Intentional.
Same with an e-list. People are like, oh, but my list is 7,000 people. But only 2,000 of them give a crap. So why are you keeping all the rest of them? Delete them out of there. You need to figure out who's engaged, who's not engaged. Get rid of the ones that are not engaged, because killing your email deliverability and your statistics of your open and your click rates. It's like focus on those that are engaged and that are an ideal client. The numbers mean nothing.
Well, it's funny that you say that. People don't understand that if you have a large group of people and they're not engaged, it actually hurts you. It's not the opposite way around. People don't even know that.
I know. It's crazy to me. It's like you need to clean your list and figure out. Infusionsoft is great for that because you can see who's engaged. And then if they're not engaged, you can put them through a re-engagement sequence. And it's amazing how many people come back into the bucket and then purge those that are not. And then, yeah, you get way better opens, way better deliverability. I had a client, she was getting 8 to 9% opens, which is not, and then like 14 is kind of like, that's good. And like now, because we segment how we send it, we tier it based on engagement and if they're new or not to the list. It's now at like, sometimes it's 30, 32 for one bucket, 21 for another bucket. Like the open rates are like, it just, whoo, it was amazing.
That's
insane.
What you want. So a large portion of my audience is real estate investors because it's kind of what I coach, and it's a little bit, I'm a business guy in general, but seems to be the niche that I'm in. A lot of young agents that I help, a lot of people, young investors. There's TikTok, there's Clubhouse, there's YouTube, there's LinkedIn, there's F and G and P, purple, right? There's so many things. What is your 1, 2, 3 best advice for them when they're getting started, just in the content space or just anything really?
Because it's so overwhelming. And it's like, I can be doing videos and going live on IGTV, going live on Facebook. And then there's blogs and podcasts and guesting. It's like, then you don't even have time to service any of your clients. It's like, and then you feel like you're not good enough because you're not everywhere or whatever. But the first rule of thumb is know your strengths, right? Like, are you good on video? Are you better on a podcast? Are you a great writer? Like, and you want to do things that you like, not things that you don't like, because it's totally going to come across. Like, the other thing is understanding your avatar, right? Like, really, like, literally, it sounds dumb, but like, write it out. What are they doing? What are they thinking? What's going on in their lives? What are things that they buy? Who do they hang out with? Where do they shop? Like, and where do they hang out? Right. I had a client that was, oh, we got to get on Snapchat. And I'm like, your peeps don't even know what Snapchat is. So why are you wasting your time and efforts? Do you know what I mean? It's like, but you just feel like, oh, I got to get in there. But it's like your avatar who you want to sell to, they don't even, like, their 12-year-old kid might know it, but they don't. So you really got to think about where they are. And then he discovered, we did surveys too, which helps, that all of his peeps were watching videos like all the time. They were in YouTube all the time. So he put most of his efforts into video. And you can go live in Facebook and have it push automatically using repurpose.io to YouTube so that you can kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, you just got to be where you're going to get the most ROI, and don't feel like you need to be everywhere. Like, the thought of TikTok.
Well,
I would rather slit my wrists and be.
Here's a scary conversation. This is real life conversation. This is a perfect timing for this conversation. I just deleted my TikTok like a week ago. I talked to my buddy today. He's a real estate investor out of Arizona. He is making serious money off TikTok. I mean, serious money. Yeah, like from his coaching and then all this stuff. And so like I feel myself like wanting to get back on. But for me, TikTok feels like such a black hole to me. Like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's stupid. You're never going to fucking see me do those stupid videos. I will shoot like not.
I know. Chance. I'm not like.
Now that being said, as I'm sitting here having this conversation, I already know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I have 600 small clips from 3 to 7 minutes for my podcast. The same we'll do with this with you. On my YouTube channel, I have my long podcast and then my rants, but that's it. If I were to go take those small clips and put them on the YouTube, they would be huge because they're 3 to 7 minutes. Yeah. And so I have 600 of those. So that's what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks, because what I don't think people do enough is take time to understand what the actual consumer is doing on said platform, right? And so they ran a report. I just had Mark Simpson on, who runs boostfully.com, the #1 booking platform website in the country, like in the world, excuse me, because I do Airbnb. And there was a report out that 70% or like 80% of the people watch YouTube on their phone. And so if they watched it on their phone, do you think they're going to listen to an hour-long interview on their phone? No, they want a 3-7 minutes quick. I'm on to the next thing. Yeah. So as I'm saying that to myself, I'm thinking to myself, I haven't maximized what I'm doing. And so if we were to maximize the YouTube traffic, which is the hardest thing for me, because I don't get that either, but I know it's what
that's exactly right.
What Brunson says, it's evergreen marketing because it's always going to be there. Facebook, Instagram disappears. But I get all my traffic from Instagram. So it's a double-edged sword for me. Yeah.
I totally get that. And you raise a really good point. And this is why I'm like, actually one of the talks that I'm doing at PodFest coming up is about how to gold mine your podcast and make it your one-stop shop for your whole content marketing strategy. Like this,
It's the top of the funnel for me. It's the top of the funnel for me. Yeah.
Because you've got video here, right? Obviously, you can load it up as I don't know if it's going live in Facebook right now, or you can upload it as a premiere to go live. It can push through YouTube to strip the audio. It will push it automatically to YouTube. It will also make it Instagram like the long size so that you can put it up in IGTV, and it makes it square so that you can upload it to other social media platforms. So, and then you can like strip it, make a blog post. You can, when you get the transcripts, you can pull out all these tiny little tips and then make social media posts. There's like so many things you can do.
Don't tell them all my tricks. Don't tell them all my tricks. I was in La Jolla for work, meeting some investors. I was riding the bike on the beach, and I do rants. Right. So
I love your rants.
You haven't listened. Awesome. Have you listened to them?
I have listened to a rant.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
But even the fact that you have a rant is like
awesome.
So
there's a couple times I get angry and people text me and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm just talking." I'm like, "I'm just
getting it out."
I was like, "I'm just talking to my 17-year-old self. Calm down." But what we did, true story, went on Fiverr, transcribed all of them. There are blog posts on Bigger Pockets. And we're making an ebook called The 52 Weeks to Change Your Life, Construct Your Life, Austin Linney. And that's my book.
That's awesome.
So you've repurposed the content almost 4 or 6 times. Yeah.
You don't have to kill yourself and do everything.
Because I'm a horrible writer. I'm a horrible writer, but I'm a great speaker.
There you go.
Yeah. And so
that's perfect. You're leveraging it. That's exactly what we want to do. Leverage it, optimize it, see what's working, what's not working, tweak, know the things that you're good at. You don't have to do everything and be everywhere. You would lose your freaking mind if you did.
And so what do you think, because the marketing space for me is such a gray area on money spent and everything like that. Mm-hmm. What's your philosophy on ads? Where do you see the white space that real estate investors or agents can kind of use right now? Where do you see the most bang for your buck if you were to do ads?
I know I'm not really I work with some Facebook ad experts, mainly in the entrepreneurial space rather than real estate investing. To me, you can lose so much money in Facebook ads. Don't do it because you feel like you have to do it. Mm-hmm. If you know specifically your avatar and can really niche down and you know how to target, that is a bonus. You can't just, confetti it out everywhere and hope that your things come in. You have to be very specific in your targeting. And the other thing is that you need to have a really clear funnel. I'm about to create one for a different client in a different space, but some videos, blogs that warms up a cold audience. You can't send a lead magnet or a house or an offer or a course to a cold audience and expect results. You might as well just throw your money down the drain. Mm-hmm. And then the next step is to opt them in with a little offer, whether it's a checklist or a video series or whatever it may be. And then to book a call after that is the next call to action that you would retarget to for those that say yes to the opt-in. So you have to have a very clear funnel, and you also have to have the backup in your email system. So when someone does opt into the thing, is there an engagement sequence? Do they really know who you are and what you do? Do you follow up with them to book that call? Do you have a promo sequence, if you will, that goes out? Are you nurturing them? Are you sending them content on a week-to-week basis? So there's all those little things that kind of come into play, right? You can't just throw out a Facebook ad and, expect to grow your list by thousands.
You seem like you don't. Do you get offended easy or not? Okay. Well, I'll use a saying down here in Texas. If you're doing these things and you're not tracking them and you don't have a way to catch them, it's kind of like pissing in the wind.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the truth, because at the end of the day, I'm about to go, long story short, I have an issue with doing too many podcasts. I found out last night. I found out last night that people don't do 18 podcasts in 3 days on a week like I do.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I think I'm doing 32 this month alone. But long story short, we've got a ton of content. I'm taking off like 4 months.
If you're doing it to get ahead, then that's wicked.
Yeah, started in April, and then I'm gonna take. I came up with this idea from a friend, and then I had it already, but we're gonna take our small clips, smash them together, and do greatest hits for topics, marketing, Airbnb. So, as my friend who runs a marketing agency said, you got enough content for a lifetime. You just got to go use it all. And so I'm very
recycle it and let it, you know what I mean? Like,
because the audience that's here with me today is not the audience that was with me in April.
Totally.
Yeah. And so, but then I feel guilty that they're not getting something fresh, but hear me out. Do we read books, more than once? Of course we do. I've read the same book like 5 times.
But also one thing, you may skim it because it's not applying to you at the moment, but it may apply to you down the road. Mm-hmm. Or like for me, like I get a ton of emails from different entrepreneurs, mainly because I like to see what kind of marketing they do. But then sometimes I'm like, delete. And then something will catch my eye. I'm like, and then I'll read it. And then I'll like go down a rabbit hole on their website and then I'll go back. So it's like, you may have had followers for like forever, but they haven't consumed like all of your stuff.
Yes. You're 100% correct. So something I've done recently, and I do it for my coaching clients mainly, but mainly I do, I'm not an angry guy. I'm a very happy guy, but I like to call people out on their crap a lot because I think a lot of people just
make
stuff. Yeah. And so what I've been doing for the past 6 months is taking, I put my email address to every free resource that exists. And I have this amazing folder with all these investing tips, marketing tips, and everything. And so anybody, when somebody says, there's nothing out there, I just send them that and I go, you're bullshitting. But what I'm actually doing also, 2 things that I live by. I don't agree with everything Gary Vee says, but I want to see everybody's sequence and what they're doing. So I'm following that. But I don't consume social media. I consume the comments. I watch everybody's comments.
Interesting.
I watch what everybody's saying, and I see where their focus is, and then I direct my marketing towards that avenue.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
I've been taught like old school that if you go to like Amazon on like books that are written on topics of what you're doing, and read the reviews, because they will share specific language that they are thinking and using. And then you can weave that language into your copy because then you're speaking their language. But I never thought about Facebook comments. That's smart.
What you're doing is you're seeing, perfect example. And I have never talked about this in public before, because I shy away from stuff like this because I don't like to be in the negative space. I don't like to be in the fray with the politics and the bullshit.
No, me neither.
But I do mastermind events. I've never talked about this. I do mastermind events around the country, and we had our first one in Austin. All I did was invite some people that live in Austin. They spoke. We had a great time. People came out. I released the video on Facebook, and a woman I've never met from Dallas said, "Oh, I see what it is. A bunch of fucking men talking about real estate, and you can't have women there." And I'm like, "The fuck are you talking?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I'm the most sensitive. I cry all the time on podcasts. Like, I love women. I was raised by my mom. Like, and I took it down, right? And people got mad at me for taking it down, but I just didn't even want to deal with it. But
that's their issues and what they're sensitive about. It has nothing to do with you.
100%. And I was weak in the moment, but what I'm understanding is that there also can be a great avenue for debate. And what you're noticing, right? Because I'm playing with LinkedIn more these days.
Me too.
The conversation gets going in LinkedIn. Brother, I had a post the other day that had like 2,000 views because the conversation in LinkedIn. So sometimes what I do is sometimes I lay them up. I poke the bear.
Sometimes you're a little shit disturber just to get the thing going.
It's funny because but also I also do that. The fact that I'm a mindset coach and we have a separate podcast about psychology and stoicism. My favorite topic in the world is behavioral spending and investing, because I love that. I would say that 90 to 70 to 80% of the economy in the world base decisions on triggers with their emotions.
Oh, absolutely.
I love to see the way people react. It's hilarious to me. And you're seeing, right? Because there's a book I champion. I think it's a foundational book for everything. It's called What You Say When You Talk to Yourself. And it's all about neurons in your brain, about saying positive things and it becoming real. And it's amazing to watch these little words. I study words. I watch these little words that you drop and people just run off on this tangent. And you're like, what just happened? I
know.
But that's
Twitter's
because
bad for that.
Yeah, I refuse.
Twitter. And he tells me these stories and I'm like, I don't understand people. Who has time for that? And why not just be happy and help people? And it just blows my mind.
The space that you're getting in, and especially sharing one story, right? Sharing my story of my divorce and my money loss and my alcoholism and my homelessness. It puts you out there. It puts you out there for negativity, and it puts you out there to,
it's hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and I
fight it like you would believe.
So they call me Mr. Vulnerable because I don't care. I'll tell you. I meet everybody and I'm like, alcoholic, homeless, divorced. Yeah, let's go.
Get it all out.
But what's interesting is what I don't tell people is I spent 20 years in the restaurant business, and now I'm a podcast host and a coach, and I probably get about a message a week from somebody I knew in my previous life, and they tell me I'm a piece of shit. They tell me that you think you're some high and mighty coach now, and you don't fucking give a shit. And you're a fake and all this shit. And
are you serious? You actually get flack like that from people
all the time? On my grammar, everything.
That would kill me.
No, I've done rants about it. You can go back and listen. And what I realized after I've removed my attachment from it was that it tells me more about them than it does.
Oh, absolutely. That they haven't taken action to improve their life and their station and their mindset. And they're like, they don't understand how you have, and that you've gotten out of that hole.
And we live in a herd mentality society. And the moment that you start doing better, it changes their lot in life for you, and it scares the shit out of them. And so that's the way they do. They attack. And so
they feel like they're not good enough, or they don't measure up, so they attack.
100%, and that's okay. It's really okay. I moved past it, but what's interesting, and the reason I bring this up is that, and I'm mainly having this conversation to empower anybody that is wanting to do, which I want to talk to you about, because I see that you've been a podcast host for a while, a podcast, right? There's a lot of people that have a story or have things, and they don't share it. And my message, right? A perfect example. I run a recovery mastermind group. We started for charity. We do it for people that want to better their life, and we do it free of charge, and we help. And one of the girls who has just taken off, her whole life has changed, and she said, I listen to your podcast every day. What do I have to do to be worthy to be on your podcast? What do I have to know? I said, how about April 14th at 7:00? Let's do it. And she goes, holy shit.
That's heartbreaking that someone's kind of like, I'm not worthy.
But she goes, holy shit. Yes, let's go. And so I realized that what I do is I move away from the masses, and I go to the people that maybe have done their first real estate deal or haven't done something, because they have something to provide. And I'm just curious your take on that through your years of podcasting, if you've seen that and kind of, why you got started in the first place.
Yeah, I knew that I love like teaching and, I'm not afraid to talk about stuff and I love sharing information. I love connecting with people, but like to be on video scared the mother crap out of me. And like my coach was like, you got to do podcasts, you get it on video. And I fought it. And he's like, I know you're petrified, but do it anyway. And so I live by that. Like, because when you do it, you feel so good. Like, and if you have fear and you don't do it, you beat yourself up. You go to bed at night, you think, oh, I didn't do it again. And then you like self-loathe. And I'm like, that is worse than the fear and doing a crappy video or doing a crappy podcast.
Yeah.
And so you just got to start. And I was petrified. And the first few suck. And you got to know they're going to suck. And you just kind of like get over it. And also like one thing for me, and I remember this vividly. So Marie Forleo, do you know who she is?
Yes. Love her.
She's gorgeous. She's perfect. Like, and so it's intimidating, right? And like, same with like when you're starting off in the real estate investing space and you see all these bigwigs that are super successful and you feel like you're not worthy. Well, I found some video of her. She was talking about when she first started out and she was doing videos like on her computer in her kitchen. And if I remember correctly, there might have even been a kid running around. And I'm like, everyone has to start somewhere. And that was mind blowing to me. I'm like, oh, you don't have to start in like, have designer clothes on and have like someone putting makeup on your face and like a studio. And so that made me feel better. And then I always have to go in the mind frame of, I forget that there's even listeners. I'm just talking to you.
Yeah, 100%.
I always do that. And then I think, okay, if one person listens and actually it helps them, then I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need like, oh my God, how many downloads do I have? And, oh, do I measure up to, I don't know, Amy Porterfield, who's like amazing. And like you have to fight that whole measuring up. And they all started. And I read this book, Jim Palmer wrote it. It's okay to be scared, but never give up, I think. Anyways, it was all these like major entrepreneurs that are like, oh, I'm not worthy. And they've like gone bankrupt and then come back up. And they've like you don't hear all that stuff. You're like, oh, you just think they naturally did 5 Facebook ads and now they're famous and they're, do you know what I mean?
Well,
and so it was like, oh, and that just kind of made my shoulders drop. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then you just get used to it. And then, you get the hang of it.
So we lived in like 250 square feet for like 6 months, me and my girlfriend. So she's heard all these podcasts. And I'm interviewing millionaires who are worth like $30 million. And we're driving Uber because they lost it all. She said to me, she says, I'm curious. She said, if you're going to make it, like be a millionaire and like make it in entrepreneurship, I think it's a prerequisite that you have to fail. Because I heard all your stories and I go, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I think my buddy asked me the same question. He says, do you think that unless life punches you in the mouth that you can be successful? And I go, fuck no. Like it doesn't exist because, and here's the deal. Very interesting. I just read a book yesterday talking about behavioral investing and everything in the world. He said that actually by you hanging on to worrying about if you're going to fail, you're actually not all in, and that actually leads you to fail even more.
I know. Isn't that like it screws you up? You're like, yeah, it's the truth. It's hard. You have to do it, but you have to just take and something I prescribe and something I live by is 1% every day. 1%. If I get one new follower, if I make one new conversation, that compound effect over a 5-year span. Yes. I tell all the young kids I'm coaching, are you working on legacy or are you working on a transaction? Because if you're working on legacy, you got 60 years, baby. Yeah.
You got long term. There's a report out that the millennials are going to have 19 careers before they're done.
Yeah,
19 different careers. So don't live your life in absolutes.
No.
Life changes. Shit happens. You get divorced.
To me, I'm like,
things change.
as long as you're taking action and you're changing things, you're tweaking things, whether it's a system, a new employee, a new tactic, as long as you're taking an action or a different action every day and there's something that freaks you out and you kind of do it anyways, then you naturally will move forward. Like you can't not, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I just think about like the action. What did I do today that actually, was good or propelled me forward or whatever.
I love this. Well, if people want to find out more about your company or what you do or your podcast, how would they do that?
They can go to smoothbusinessgrowth.com. And we help people with podcast launches. We step you through it so that you don't have to like figure it all out on your own. And obviously all the production and promotion and all that good stuff.
What a name. I love it. I'm going to start consuming. Yeah, I'm going to start consuming your content because that's what we're in the process of doing right now is trying to figure out how to repurpose all our content. So
yes, repurposing. When I'm done my presentation for PodFest, I can do it with you online or send you the slides.
Yeah, that would be great. Online, I have a Facebook group, and then I would love to share it with I would love to share it with my coaching
because the
clients
principles match for anything. It's like you go live on Facebook, and then you just take out, I call them snackable bites, but you can take all these little pieces out of what you do and just make more social media posts. So you're not reinventing the wheel.
I love it.
Fun stuff.
Well, thank you so much, man. We could talk for 9 hours. Yeah, we could talk for 9 hours. I could
talk to you forever.
Well, we're going to do a Facebook Live soon when I get back from Costa Rica. We're going to do it.
Only if there's a monkey behind you.
100%. I interviewed my friend the other day, and she was down in Puerto Rico at her house, and I'm like, I want to hurt you so bad right now. I'm doing which part of Canada do you live in?
Just north of Toronto, Ontario.
My coaching client lives in Toronto. Young kid, great, about to get his real estate license.
Nice.
As soon as this damn border opens up, I'm going to do a mastermind in Toronto, and I would love to have you speak at it.
Yeah, I would totally dig that.
I really only want to go to Quebec City because I used to be a chef. Hold on. I used to be a chef. And my number one restaurant on my list, my number one is Joe Beef. It's these guys who have a restaurant empire in Quebec, and they are the most gregarious, boisterous dudes I've ever met in my entire life. I sold wine and liquor for 20 years. I traveled the world in wineries. So I love a chef that loves, even though I don't drink anymore, fine wine, fine food.
Yeah.
And so these guys had this amazing restaurant there. So, but yeah, guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it out to your friends, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.